Hello, hello. Welcome to the Eclipse Evolution podcast. I'm your hostess, Savannah Rose. Thank you so much for being here with us today, whether you're tuning in audio or video. We're just grateful to have you, grateful to spend time with you. And I'm, speaking of grateful, very excited to introduce our guest today, Miss Kristi Chaves. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy life to come and share your wisdom, your insights. I know your mission is to nourish people at the end of the day, nourish them with your coaching, and I can't wait to have you share your message with our listeners today.
Amazing. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Thank you for reaching out. It's so refreshing when I see another woman in the industry who's just doing good work, and advocating for other women in this space. I'm curious, when it comes down to your coaching business, I know you said you're raised by two coaches, so you were kind of born to do this, it sounds like.
Yes, it's so funny. Everyone's like, what's your story? I'm like, not your typical one. So both of my parents were coaches, and my mom has a meditation movement leadership business for 50 years. So I grew up going to meditation workshops for 8 hours when I was 13 years old, and I absolutely hated it. But it changed my life. It just, like, of course, you're a teenager and it's not where you want to be. But I think I bypassed so much pain, honestly, in my life. And I don't have, like, the typical story that I think a lot of people come into of, like, these awakenings into themselves. Is my whole life I was ushered to never need an awakening, because I never really got... I always had parents and an upbringing that it was always the space of, like, be yourself. Who are you? Be in your power. Lead in the world. And so, I became a coach when I was 21 years old, my senior year in college, not planned. And so, nothing about my journey of having a business is anything I ever decided really consciously. But now I absolutely love it, and it's the best thing in the world.
Oh, well, I love that for you. And it sounds like you just had to find your own flavor of doing it, right? I think I can totally understand, like, that, being raised by parents who, of course, want the best for you, and that just natural resistance I think we're hardwired with as humans to just find our own way. But I'm so glad that you enjoy what you do now, and I think your story is certainly unique. I think not everyone has to walk that path of having like a crisis which leads to an awakening necessarily. I mean, I think that when that happens to certain people, it's necessary. But I'm glad that you have had this experience of just such full immersion and growing up with such supportive parents. I think that that's also beautiful, and I'm sure you create something very unique in your repertoire with your clients with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's, having that as a background, and I actually still run workshops with my mom and my brother, and we, like, all work together, and it's really fun. And it really shows you, when you have the principles and the tools and the ways of working with yourself, you can prevent a lot of challenges, in your life and in the world. And having, your environment is crucial in so many ways. So that was, like, so big for me, of, like, really having an environment and constantly being reinforced to be who I am, to go for what I want. Even becoming a coach, it's not like I was so confident and going, this is now my career. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. And it led me, though, on the most beautiful journey of it all, which is, like, being an entrepreneur when you're 21. Wild. It's not like something I even registered. Oh, we're choosing to be an entrepreneur. That is not something I consciously registered I was choosing, but here we are.
I relate to that, absolutely. I think when you are just meant to go to the beat of your own drum, sometimes you don't even realize this what you're doing, and then you kind of look back or have people reflect that back to you, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's really special. I'm curious, like, when it comes down to refining your niche over time, what's led you to working with women on the kind of specific things that you lead them on? I know you have so many different areas that you touch upon. I'm curious, like, what's led you to where you are now?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is just, and I think that this is kind of how life takes you, is, people start asking things and of you. And I think that, so one of the biggest things I talk about is how much your embodiment of how you live and who you are is really, like, the example of kind of what you're an expert in. A lot of times the thing you're so good at is so natural to you. It's just so embodied in you. And that's like a big thing that I actually teach in business for women with like marketing and everything is really around you're living it. You just probably don't even realize how much you're in it. But you know, I actually, funny enough, I started as a parenting coach. My background's in child development in college. And so I've gone from like parenting coaching to leadership coaching to just whatever you need coaching, because at the root of it, it's like getting out of your own way and really coming into your own leadership. And then for about 3 years ago, I was in a mastermind, and I had already started attracting people who were wanting me to teach them what I had done in my business. But I was in a mastermind, and a lot of my peers saw me kind of like skyrocket in business, and we all paid $25,000 to be in this mastermind to learn. And they were like, what are you doing? How are you growing your business so fast? And I realized I really understood business. Like I was raised by two entrepreneurs. I invested a ton to really learn it. And so really how I've moved into more business and wealth and all of that, and really helping women and being able to grow their businesses in a sustainable way is a lot of people just ask me, and then 2 years ago, my dad passed away, and that was really when my whole model of my business changed, and really my mission was like really not just building businesses to make money, but really building businesses to live what I like to call like your version of your wealthy life. And that if you're building a business that isn't setting you up for that, then it's like it's not worth it. And so that was kind of, so now that is, I teach a lot in the business, but a lot of it is making sure, I have a 1-year-old at home and I'm with her all the time, and like really making sure you have a model to give you the life you want and make sure both get to work together.
That's so well said. And you mentioned like sustainability. I think that's something that is not always thought about when it comes down to entrepreneurship. And I know like so many entrepreneur friends that I have, I mean, and even myself, like when we're a one-woman show out here, it's so easy to feel like you have to take it all on. But I think learning how to ask for help has been one of my most difficult challenges, but also one of the best for the sustainability piece. And you also mentioned like the learning aspect and how that goes hand in hand, like whether we're learning from others in a mastermind or just doing our own self-study. I think that's so important for the sustainability piece as well.
Totally. And I think it's, I always say, because I feel like a lot of things in business or in life, you just kind of fall into, right? It's like, oh, this door is opening, let me walk through it. This door is opening, let me walk through it. And granted, it's a beautiful way to like live through life, but there is this intentionality, and I think that's the thing that I've brought a lot to my life is, really everything about my life has been deeply intentional. Even the timing of having my daughter, and getting married and waiting 7 years to have my daughter because we got married really, like all these things, I was so intentional about what do I want and what is going to be something I always ask myself is like, what is the ripple effect on my life if I choose that, right? And so for sustainability, I knew I wanted to be a type of mom and I wanted to be a successful in business. And I wanted a model that was sustainable for both, that can take me the long haul, that I can have kids, be home a lot, but also still have the impact and the passion that I have to run my business. And so that has really been my intentionality with the sustainability, is really knowing that and crafting it intentionally.
Right, absolutely. Well said. Absolutely, yeah. Intentional, or just being intentional and learning how to make that part of the embodiment practice, I think, is huge and just so crucial. I'm curious because embodiment, I think, is something that's starting to become more, at least where I'm living right now.
Yeah.
I'm sure out there in SoCal, y'all are a little bit more in tune, but when it comes down to the embodiment piece, I feel like this is something that's just now really starting to get people's attention of like, what does this mean? Because I think that when we are learning or reading self-help books, and I see this all the time, like where we're just consuming all this stuff, but we're not embodying or even know what that is, it can be so easy just to stay in that very heady space in that learning, almost like cycle of learning, where you just feel like you have to keep learning. I'm curious, like what's helped you with your own embodiment?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because that's actually like one of the very different ways that I teach business is I teach all the tactical, like how do you grow and scale your business, but my big emphasis is embodiment. And I actually use a lot of like somatic practices and movement practices to help people get into their body because the truth is, if we think about a business or anything, you want to have influence. And influence starts in how you present and your voice. And if you are not embodied, it is like when I talk to people, it is so obvious to me when they're embodied. You can hear it. There's actually a frequency in which someone speaks. That's why some people you are just attracted to them and you just go, I don't know why. It's probably because they're really embodied in what they're saying versus the other person who's talking but you're not embodied. And so the way that I think about embodiment is, and especially like in related to business and growing your business, is a lot of times it's in how you live your life and how you're living. How do you make decisions? How do you walk through challenging moments? How do you move through the world? And what you're already doing, not in who you want to be. And I think this is the big gap a lot of times in the personal development world because people focus so much on manifestation and being something higher and different instead of actually, what if you just owned who you are right now? What if you actually own your lived experiences that you've already gone through that have shaped who you are, that are making you amazing instead of always trying to be someone that you're not. It's owning who you are, and really that lives in your body. And so that's why I use a lot of somatic practices and movement practices. You know, it's funny when people come into my containers for business, they always go, I was so resistant to that at first, and now they always say it's their absolute favorite part of the program is how much I bring in the embodiment practices, because here we go. When you're embodied, so much inner resistance, so much inner turmoil just goes away because you're not always trying to think your way through business and life. You just know. And embodiment really puts you into your knowing. And I really think, especially in business, is, you know, anybody, especially with AI, can replace anything. Nobody can replace your lived experience. And that's why you owning it is what makes you stand out really in what you're doing.
Mm. I'm loving this. This is great. Absolutely. And I think, well, it makes so much sense how it just sounds like just beautifully and cohesively tied in the embodiment piece. I feel like that's an essential piece of, like you said, not just business, but I think specifically female entrepreneurs, because when we are moving in our feminine energy and wanting to operate from that place of our feminine energy and also be bosses and business owners, it's so easy because of conditioning in society to want to move back into that masculine of like the hustle and the go and the doing all the time. And I think that's what so easily can lead us to burnout. I know I've experienced that myself in the past, and I've made this like kind of pendulum swing now where I'm like learning how to be in my feminine and still feel successful. I feel like going to that different rhythm and feeling it in my body and listening to when I need rest and not feeling guilty for doing it. That's all part of the embodiment piece. I'm so curious. I wrote something down. I can't even read my own handwriting. I'm like trying to pay attention but also scribbling. I wanted to know your insights on what, and they're my birds. I warned you they might start chatting. But
Yeah, I love it. They're joining the party.
they're loving it too. They're like, good stuff. When it comes down to the role of fear, because I feel like with business and fear, you can't, I think, explore new terrain without fear showing up. But I think it's how you move through that fear, which is one of the vital aspects of the embodiment practice. I'm curious, like, what your experience has been in growing your business and coming up against those growing indicators of like, oh, this is new territory. I'm making this much money now, and it kind of scares me, or I'm having this opportunity and it kind of scares me. I'm curious like what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, honestly, is like one is just knowing that fear is unfamiliar, right? That's all fear is telling you is that it's an unfamiliar experience. And now your nervous system is wired to freeze, block, shut down when it's unfamiliar, right? So you do need to learn how to move through it. But when you recognize, like something that helps me a lot is like, I'm scared because I don't know the outcome, right? And our brains and our nervous system is wired for the known. It wants to know, even if the known is not a result you want, it actually is going to cling on to it, because that's what your nervous system is designed to do, is to protect you. And so really, when you can see that fear is just information, it's literally, and this is something I learned a lot because my mom's work is all in movement and somatic work. And so I really learned how, the more you can learn how to be embodied, be with, embody the feeling you're feeling, and you don't run away from it, you actually go meet it. I was actually sharing about this in my program when I was saying, this year alone, I've been in rooms with super successful entrepreneurs, the top of the top entrepreneurs. And I was telling them they're no different than anyone that I work with. The only difference is that when there's fear, when there's resistance, when there's unknown, they go meet it fast. They don't go away from it. They don't play into the patterns. They go meet it, right? And that's really true freedom, is going, okay, I'm having fear. Now, what am I really afraid of? And can I go meet that deeper fear in me and be with it? Because see, when you meet it on an embodied level, it can't control you. And it only controls you on an unconscious level if you are avoiding actually meeting the fear. And the thing that I've really learned in having business and not living a status quo life, right? Like, that's really what it is. When you're choosing to live this incredible life, you're going to feel so much fear, because you're constantly breaking the limits on what you thought your life could be and who you thought you could be. And I feel like for me, even this morning, I was sharing about something that I'm doing in my business, and I was like, okay, yeah, we're scared. I'm scared. I've been here before. And then you just learn a way to how to meet it. But it really is on a somatic level, because I will say, if you just know it mentally, you will sabotage yourself. Just to say, the mind is not the only way. You have to know how to meet it somatically, or it will just keep coming up again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so funny you're saying this, because I was just, I was listening to this podcast that I enjoy, and she was exactly talking about what you're talking about, like the role of self-sabotage when it comes down to just not being able to meet that fear, or I think even like identifying like this is self-sabotage because this is something that's new and unfamiliar. And I think you do yourself such a favor when you can just acknowledge, like, I'm scared, like you were saying, like, I'm scared, and that's okay, and now I can do something with that, rather than like trying to avoid it or deny it or numb it or override it. I think that's when that self-sabotage will come out to try to compensate.
Totally.
That's so insightful. I'm curious, like, when it comes down to the somatics that you teach, you mentioned like movement, I'm assuming like breath work as well. What have you found to be some of the most specific techniques, like, for learning how to have more capacity for fear itself?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to it's somatic awareness and somatic sensation tracking, really. And so it's really about, it's a process of learning how to, so this is where it's not just meditating. Like, meditating's great, but it actually, a lot of time, most meditations, it matters the type, but a lot of meditations are actually more mentally driven, not somatic driven. So this is why you want to go a somatic, like somatic tracking and somatic awareness. And so what it is it's learning how to become attuned to the sensations in your body. So, right, if you've ever experienced that tingling, that heaviness, that's a somatic sensation. Now you're actually having tens of thousands of somatic sensations all the time. But most people are numb to it. You can't feel it because most people live so much in their mind, right? So this is where, like, anxiety or anything like that is actually starting on a subtle level. And that's why the more somatically attuned you get, you can catch things before there's a problem, right? Or even like if something doesn't feel right in your life, we feel it, right? When that scary moment's gonna happen, it's like a pit in our stomach. Well, it's actually starting really subtly. So what it is it's learning how to attune somatically to what you're experiencing and learning how to track your somatic sensations and be with them, not get away from them, go be with them. And within every somatic sensation, oftentimes there's a feeling and there's a thought. And so when we become somatically aware, we can also identify, oh, what is the feeling of this somatic sensation? What is it telling me? And that's where we use our body's intelligence to inform us of how to move through life. And this is really how I really like to call this is like safety proofing my life, because I don't have to run into massive problems in my life because I can feel it on a subtle level before something is not working, right? So before I have a challenge with my husband or in my business or whatever it is, I'm like, oh, I can feel something. And instead of just overriding it, what if I just slow down to feel it and get curious? My body's telling me something, and I want to become aware of that. So that's like a big way that I use it. And then I also use like breath work and movement and dance. Like whenever we're doing anything that's getting you to expand, it's using movement and music as a way to help you open to what's already inside of you.
Mm. I love that. Yeah, dancing is medicine. I love dancing. It's like one of my favorite things ever. I love like ecstatic dance. So I think that makes perfect sense to have that go hand in hand with that, just getting in touch with your body and the sensations and shaking out energy. And that's so cool. I'm loving this. Thank you so much. I'm wondering, I feel like I have so many things I want to ask you. I'm wondering, what have you noticed specifically, and this is changing gears slightly, what have you noticed specifically when it comes down to women in their relationship to wealth? Because I feel like this is something that I think we're moving in a paradigm of where women are allowed to ask for more, but I think there's been such conditioning with women where it's like, don't be too greedy, or just taking up space, and how that goes hand in hand with making more money in our businesses. And this is something that I try to help women with as well. I'm curious, what has your experience been in helping women, whether it's like work through shame or guilt or taking up space or moving through those barriers and not self-sabotaging when more is coming their way?
Totally. Well, the first thing I just want to say is I've gone through it like tremendously. I will never forget where I had like two big things that came up for me when we talked about money. One, because I didn't come from like hardships in terms of financially. I mean, granted, I had to work for what I wanted. I paid for myself to go through college, all of the different things. But I felt really bad wanting to make money. Like, I felt like it was so greedy of me to want to make money. And that was really hard for me in growing a business, because I was like, who am I to charge this, to make this? And I really had to learn how to see. And this is where I think, for me, like integrity is my North Star, right? And it's something clients say to me all the time. They go, you have so much integrity in how you talk about money and business. And I'm never trying to say, I've done this. Like, if I have not done it, if I have not truly made it, profited that, done that strategy, I'm not talking about it, right? I didn't just learn it on a podcast and I'm going to teach it to you. Or I didn't just say, let me make an accumulation of all the things that I've made over the last few years and say I've made X amount. No, I'm not doing that, right? And so I think the thing one that helped me a lot was integrity and being like, is my work of value? And really seeing how when I started collecting evidence for, wow, when I made more money, I do more good in the world. I'm not like, for me personally, I'm not out there going, let me just buy my nice car and go, and that's great. Like, right? It's totally fine if that's your thing. But for me, I'm like, money allows me to give more to my clients, to be a better mom and a better person, and to be more present in the world. And what a contribution that is. Like, when I walk down the street and my neighbors see me and talk to me and go, wow, you're such a like warm, nice human. It's like, yeah. And that's also because I have the money to provide for a life that I can go take a walk in the middle of the day and do that. And so I really see it's like, what is the pathway that money provides for you? And letting yourself see that when you live from your values and an integrity, like, you're going to do great with money. It's not like I want money so I can buy all these things just for me and not be a good person in the world. It's like, no, I'd rather me have the money and me contribute to the world than go give it to some other firm or something else that's really not contributing to humanity, And so that was a really big one for me. And the other one I will say that was really massive was this idea that like I can make money and be a great mom and have a great marriage. And I had a lot of subconscious fears that one was gonna go away. Like my marriage wouldn't make it. I wouldn't be the mom I wanted to be. Something I couldn't do all. And I do think it's a paradigm of really seeing how times are changing. And we do live in a world where like you can be a successful business owner and have a great, like my life, I will say, has literally never felt better in my entire life. It is more full than ever before and more spacious than ever before. You know, it's more full with what I want. But I will say that came from facing the fear of like, I can't have this, or I'm gonna lose this is gonna go away. And I think it's a lot of really working with expanding our viewpoint, you know, and part of that is finding expanders in the world and finding women who are, you know, something I'm very conscious of is when I look at someone making a certain amount of money, I go, are they being the type of person I want to be though? Because if they are not, I don't want to learn from them personally. Mm-hmm. I want to learn from people who are really living the type of life and being the type of person that I want to be. And then it starts to train your subconscious, like, money's not bad, making money isn't bad, wealth isn't bad. Wow, I can actually do more. I can actually be a more loving parent and make money. Yes, right? And I think finding those expanders around you is really, really, really helpful.
Oh, beautifully said. Oh my gosh, yes. You hit the nail on the head with both of those points. Like, and the second one is one that I personally have been working on recently, really, because I'm in a beautiful, committed relationship now with a man who loves to provide, and that's been scary as shit for me.
Yeah.
In the past, I mean, just being so real with you, because in the past that was just not the case. And
yeah,
like in previous relationships, like a lot of financial abuse, where I was like the giver and would give so much all the time, and then here I have a man who's like, take it easy, I got you. And I'm like, what? I'm so vulnerable, because like you said, I had kind of attached like money and hustling is safety and freedom, and that went along with my single life when I was really thriving.
Right.
And in a relationship, it was like always hardship with money. So now I'm in this beautiful relationship and was stressing about money, and it's like, it doesn't have to be that way. I can have it all. I can have both. So you make such a great point with sharing your own journey with that too. It's that really resonated with me for sure. It's so interesting how those kind of subconscious things can creep into our life in so many different ways. And one of my favorite mentors mentioned to me, or she asked me, like, what would change for you if you went from like asking yourself, how hard do I have to work to get this, and started asking yourself, how good am I willing to let myself have it? And you made me think of that switch when you were talking about like how it doesn't have to, like, your definition of wealth, it encompasses so much, and how you operate in the world and what makes your life full is something that you build the structure for and also allow yourself to have too. It's not like the chasing after this or that or these things that you think are going to bring you satisfaction and happiness. It's about really knowing and being satisfied with who you are now and what you have now, and how that naturally just attracts so much more to you. It's so cool. And gosh, what a nice like breath of relief too, right? You can just like be like, oh, I kind of love how this is, and
yeah,
then you just like get more like, wow, what a concept.
Yeah, and I think it's also like a journey to realize and really come to, you know, what type of life do you want, and what type of person do you want, and seeing the way that really helped me is seeing like money as a vehicle to what I want. Money's not the goal. And I talk about this a lot in business coaching. You know, it's like I always say, making money isn't the goal. Your life is the goal, right? And if we have more people living lives in a way that is balanced and present and incredible, that changes the world. That changes the way we relate to each other. That changes when you're driving down the street. And so I really started seeing, wow, like money was a vehicle to this life that I have now that I am just in love with, and I love so much, and that money has been my pathway to that. And I'm so grateful. Like, I'm so grateful that I have a business. And I always say, like, you know, money is about making choices. And I think of it, you know, when I had my daughter, I had such a hard time with certain things with her when she was a baby. And I was so grateful that not for a moment had to flinch at like, can we hire this specialist? Can we do this person? Can we get this? And that's why I think about it. It's like money gives you choices to be able to take care of your life and take care of yourself. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping women and making money, and that you have that freedom and you can. And that's fun. Once you start making money, you're like, this is fun. We get to make money and do work we love. What an amazing thing.
That's another huge paradigm shift too, I feel like, is happening right now, moving out of that like the 9 to 5 and that hustle culture and like the working for the weekend kind of mentality of like, I just gotta like deal with life from Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, and then I can actually enjoy it. And I'm like, oh no, I used to do that and I could not go back. It's soul sucking. Oh, so yeah, you're so right about that, and I love that for you. I can, like you said, in the frequency piece, I can hear it in your voice, like how genuinely grateful you are, and I think that that's so special, and I love that for you. And it's just, you're right, like that kind of energy radiates, and I think it gives people permission too, like you can love your life too, and you can design a life that you love too. I think you're right, like that ripple effect, like you mentioned, of just showing up and living in that authenticity and loving your life, how that can inspire so much more than you even maybe realize.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's where it also comes down to the way you get out of the hustle and all of these patterns is like, you have to know what you want your life to be. And I think that this is I have lots of opinions about this with social media, but I think there's a lot of like, it should be like that, or she's living that way, or maybe I should have that. And I think the biggest thing, that has helped me so much in my life, and especially in these last few years, is just going, what do I want? Like, and there's nothing like losing a parent to give you perspective on life and to really make you look at, wow, and my dad passed away super unexpectedly. It was just out of the blue. So it also was that like, you don't know how much time you have here. You don't know who's going to be here. And it's really about going, at the end of the day, and this is something I've come into, because before having my daughter, I was running my business, traveling around the world. My husband was home and he worked from home. He'd like, go off and do your thing, come back. And like, it was amazing. And it was so fun. And I think a lot of times there's this like flashiness of like the travel and the life and the luxury. And one of the things that I will say these last few months, I've never experienced more peace in my life. I have canceled 4 vacations. I've been like, my life is so simple and so incredible. And I don't need all these things. I need like my family, my work that I love. I go to the beach. I love where I live. And like, I'm good. Like, I don't need all these things. And we actually canceled so many vacations because we're like, where are we trying to go to experience when like everything we want is like literally right here? And I think that is some of the biggest things that I've had to go through, even in these last few years of, I think sometimes even when you start to make money, there's like, oh, well, we should do these things. You have the money, go do it. And it's like, but what if I don't want to? What if, and I think that's something that's really important with getting out of the hustle and getting out of these patterns, is a lot of the patterns is putting outside paradigms of how you think you should live your life, instead of you really getting honest about how do you want to live your life? What is your ideal? And that's why I always say, what's your wealthy life? And I work with all the women I work with of, let's design that. If yours is luxury vacations, great. We can do that. If yours is like living on a farm, great. It's like, what is your version? And I think that just brings so much peace and clarity in knowing what that is for yourself.
So well said. Absolutely. And I think that the embodiment piece is so key to that. And I think,
yeah,
I also feel like for me, it's been inner child work as well. Like when it comes down to really knowing, because even just this morning, I was just getting to have a nice chill morning and just being with all my fur babies, being with my partner, just enjoying being at home. And I'm like, this is a life that little Savannah would have been just so thrilled to have. And that just made me so happy. It just made my heart smile. I don't know how else to put it, but it just made me so happy. And then I get to go interview this badass woman, learn from her, just like meet a new friend. I'm like, this is my, I'm like, what? I could cry. It's just so cool. But you're right, you have to get so clear. And this might be super boring to someone else, which is fine. I'm like such a homebody. I'm like thriving right now, just getting to have a nice day at home with the people and animals that I love. And that's so satisfying for me. But you're right. I think tuning into and not being ashamed of what your desires are is also very key to manifesting
Yeah.
your dream life. But you're so right. It can be that double-edged sword with the social media of like, this is what success is supposed to look like, whatever. But if that's not your cup of tea, it's not going to feel good.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that has helped me a lot with wealth and money and life and honestly a lot of the patterns. Like I think a lot of the patterns that I used to have for so long of like feeling like I need to work more, feeling like, oh, I should wanna make X amount or do these things. And you know, one of the things I always say is it's not just the money you make, but it's how you're making it, right? Once you start making money, it's so easy to make money once you get going. Once you get going on it, it's actually incredibly easy. But something I've been very intentional about is I see people making tons of money and I'm like, I don't want your life. I don't want that. And so I'm very intentional of like, yes, you can make that money you want to make, but also are you being a person you're proud to be? Are you living a life that you're proud to be living in the process of making it? Because at the end of the day, once you make it one year, you got the next year to make it. But like, what is your life losing out on in that process if it's not really what you want? And that's something I've been deeply intentional about because, you know, money is a great thing, but it's also, it's a trap if you're not conscious of it.
100%. Absolutely. Like, I think that's so well said. Just how like consciousness is so huge on like why are you like you said if buying the fancy car is your thing, go off.
Yeah.
But if it's just what you feel like you should do, or if it's like you don't know what to do and you're just like kind of
Yeah.
grasping at straws, then it's like it's never gonna give you that satisfaction. And I feel like embodiment and being in touch with yourself is what allows you to experience satisfaction. Because I know for me, what led to a lot of burnout in the past was never allowing myself to feel satisfied. It was always like, okay, I did this thing, cool, time for the next thing. Because it was my productivity was so tied to my self-worth. And so I've never felt like satisfied with myself or what I was doing because it was, in my eyes, never enough. So taking that shift and that embodiment piece and allowing yourself to be satiated with the present, I think is so huge in getting in touch with your desires and, like you said, designing what you want. And then it comes to you so much easily because you're living in so much more alignment and not like attracting or calling in the wrong things.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a really important and to know what that is, you know, and like to get honest with yourself of like what do you really want? And then when you know what you want, it's like just make the plan and get help in getting there. You know, it's like so simple, right? But it's like that clarity you have to get really honest with. And I definitely had to go through that a lot where I was like, oh, I feel like I should want this thing or whatever it is, or like even like we just bought a family car and I was like, I wanted this, and I'm like, but why? Is it because like you want to be able to show that like I can, or is it like where are you coming from? And I think really learning to question why you want what you want. What are you trying? Is there somewhere where you're trying to prove something to get something, and like where are you not giving yourself what you want? So
That's well said. I'm so curious what your thoughts on. You just like sparked something in my mind. So, how would you say when it comes down to the role of validation in a business? Because I think this is such a almost tightrope thing in some ways of business, where it's like you want to do something that you love, and that certainly is enough in many ways. But also, business is to profit at the end of the day. Like I think that is essential for a healthy, sustainable business, right? And so I think there is that level of like, am I being effective in my marketing? Is what I have like what people need, etc., depending on what you're offering. I guess like what would your perspective be on the role of validation when it comes down to being a business owner? Like I'm sure so many people, and even myself, I've had to question, like you're saying, like, why am I offering this? Is this actually what I want to do? Is this something that brings me joy, or is this just the thing that's going to bring me a check faster? I think that that's such a pressure that people face in business. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, just to say, have very hidden validation. And the way that you know I will say, because this happens a lot for my clients who are, launching programs or whatever it is. And when they start to go, oh, I don't know if I should, I go, if there were 100 people signed up in your program, how would you show up right now? And would you question it? Would you pull back? Would you not do the thing? And they're always like, no. And I'm like, cool, then you're letting the outside world validate you instead of you being your validator. And the truth is, we do this, right? It's human nature. We do it. We want to be validated. We want to essentially know we're great, you're amazing, keep doing what you're doing. And a lot of people use their business to get validated where they're not validating themselves. And then they have a lot of really sticky attachment to their business offers, results, marketing, and sales. And this is a trap because you can't be like true business. And I really think fulfillment in business is freedom. And freedom is being unattached. And if you're needing your clients, your sales, your offers, your likes, whatever, to validate you, you are going to get so stuck. Because if you naturally in business, it is never, I don't care what business it is. Like I said, I've been with so many business owners through the years. Every business has ups and downs. Every business has a higher month and a lower month. People enroll, don't enroll. And if you are needing that to be your source of gas, so to speak, for your car to run, it's really scary. You're needing your business to validate you why you're doing good. And I really think when it comes to offerings and what you do, it cannot be for validation. It has to be genuinely what and this is something like I am very much like your very typical, I will be very honest with people when they come into my world and when they are offering things that when I'm like, you're not embodied in that. And that's why it's not selling, because you're doing it for validation and you're not embodied. It's just not going to sell. Like it may sell once, you're not going to make a brand from it and it's not going to work. And I really do feel like sometimes we need someone outside of us to be honest of like, you are doing this for validation and that is why your energy is off in it. The way you're talking about it, it's all about you. It's not about how you're actually building something for something bigger than yourself. And a lot of times it's what you're embodied in. And again, it's natural and we do need validation. And that's why we need people around us and environments and coaches and mentors to be like, hey, let me shine a light on why you're a genius, on why you're amazing. But let's not attach that to the results in your business. So that's how I like to play with it.
Yes. Oh, that was golden. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine like the folks who get to work with you are so blessed to have that honesty, because I think honesty is one of the just number one ways that we can give someone respect. Truly, I think it's not like taking away their dignity of like trying to assess what they maybe think I got that backwards, trying to assess like what we think they want to hear. That's it. Just like trying to sugarcoat it in any kind of way, or maybe we're afraid to speak our truth. I think when you are able to just like do them the favor of like, hey, like this is not where you're from, that is so real. And I feel like that's something that I see like sometimes just like in celebrity culture. Of course, you gotta take that with a grain of salt, but like what you see is like people who are surrounded by yes men and then they're making these mistakes and or having like controversies happen, and it's like they just really needed a real friend or they needed a good coach to be like, why are you doing this? What are you doing?
Yeah.
My goodness. Well, I'm curious, like, if people want to get in touch with you and be blessed with your wisdom and your coaching, how can they track you down?
Yes, come to my Instagram. It is the best way. Just come say hello, say you heard the podcast, let me know what you liked, and I'm happy to. I have lots of different things, free things, offers, so many amazing things, but most of all, my community and people is most important to me. I love connecting with people, and I've built a genuinely like incredible community. So just come over to my page, say hello, and we'll go from there. And I would love to connect with you.
Perfect. Well, I'll drop the link to your Instagram in the description so y'all can find her and soak up her wisdom. Kristi, thank you so much for this conversation. I feel like it flew by. I was like taking all these notes. It was great. It's rich, and I can certainly feel your embodiment, and I just appreciate you taking the time, and it was so wonderful meeting you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be with you and to share. So thank you for having me.
Of course. And to those who tuned in, thank you so much for your time, for your investment in this channel and this podcast. Super grateful to be on this journey with you. Kristi, thank you so much again. And to all who have tuned in, bye for now.